Walking in from the Mickey and Friends parking structure, they say. It's quicker than the trams, they say. Holy crap. Nothing like trying to come up with a foolproof plan of getting into the parks and have Disneyland laugh in your face. Now that might be the most hype that I've seen this park in weeks, months even perhaps. Now granted, we've been coming to the parks recently, a bunch of rainy days, January days, so we're starting to creep into, I mean really, this is incredible. It's almost spring now, it feels like. This feels like a spring day. And that not quite spring day is coming to you on a Tuesday. Late morning, early afternoon, 11:56 a.m. on this Tuesday. We're filming here on a Tuesday. Normally we do Mondays, but we did not have a reservation yesterday. Took that opportunity to do a Knott's video. We did a Universal video. You guys seem to enjoy that. Did a Knott's video yesterday as well. Hopefully you guys caught that. We're back today for our State of Disneyland Report and this vibe check down Main Street, which is vibing. I don't know if you guys can feel that, but I sure can being here. Being here today. Welcome to Tuesday in February at Disneyland, and it feels like November in terms of the energy and pace of this crowd right now. And it is a very, very positive, energetic crowd as we begin our day. For those of you new to the show, my name's David, and we are doing our State of Disneyland Report, something that we do every 2 weeks here on this channel. A tour of the entire park to kind of catch you guys up on what's happening here, but also do a little park science. You're gonna learn some things, and we're gonna have a Disneyland day in the process. All of that's gonna happen over the course of the next hour. And I certainly do love doing these. These are my favorite shows to do because a lot happens, we learn a lot, and we get to feel and pick up the magic and wonder that is Disneyland. Today, right now, what's happening? Sleeping Beauty Castle pictures. That's a vibe, am I right? I like that sweatshirt. Good looking family photo right there. All right, guys. Let's go to Adventureland. Feels like this is everybody's starting point on this day when guests arrive in the park. You know that feeling. You get to the park, you arrive at the hub, and you're like, where do we go? What do we do first? I can tell you how many times I've heard that question, especially at the front gates. Excitement, especially early in the day, like in the morning, the excitement that people have about the anticipation of what's to come. But I feel like a lot of people have made that left turn here into Adventureland. Right? Hey, how are you? Hi, guys. Hi. We'll make our first stop here, I guess, at the Jungle Cruise, where there's a posted 40-minute wait time. I'm just going to do it from here because there's quite a river of guests, a sea of guests going through here. 40 minutes posted. Top left deck is full, as is, well, I don't know how full it is, but they're into the right side. Well, that's kind of standard. Even the second, the back section, we often see guests back there. Here's something we don't normally see. Guests in that section over, the forward part, over the tropical import sign, you hardly ever see guests up there. That is a true sign that we are up against it today. We are in for a day here. Jungle Cruise, 40 minutes, all 3 decks full. Yikes. Not that that's a bad thing, as I always say. I do love to see a busy day. We were walking through here picking up B-roll. We're at Indiana Jones next, and I got a shot. There was 75 minutes on the board there. Now it says 65, so maybe they've cut a break. Let's go see. I'll bet you that we're going to find a fairly brisk queue in the back if we were to go investigate, which we're going to do. This is Park Science Fresh Baked. This is our way of sort of educating our viewers on how to analyze. It's more than just looking at the board. It's even more than just looking at the queue that's out here and what you see initially, especially at Indiana Jones. You do want to try as much as possible, take that extra minute to look at the exterior queue out here, because that's where the victory is. If you can look at this queue and say that's a beatable queue, then you beat Indiana Jones in general. And what we have found is what looks to be maybe an unbeatable queue here at Indy. This is worst case scenario. Worst case scenario in so much as, yes, it's full, but it's also kind of sticky. There's not a lot of guest movement. You don't see a lot of activity happening around there in the queue. You don't see a current, which is what you want to see. You want to see bodies moving. You're not seeing that now. You're seeing a lot of folks standing still. This is a bad look. Interesting though that we're finding this when we just saw that they had reduced the wait time from 75 minutes down to 65. So there's no real victory here, I guess, no possibility in terms of Indiana Jones, but I will say that it has been my experience that even in the worst case scenarios, I've been up there, recently in the Jungle Cruise section when they run it across the street, and I still got it done in less than an hour. So it's probably not a full 65. I'm just saying there's no breaks in that queue back there. And you may want to try and wait for another time, although this day is already proving to be something a little bit beyond the normal. Gosh, and this is not even a tier 0 or 1. Today is tier 2. It is $140 today? Actually, before we leave Adventureland, let me head back out to the entrance. I want to observe a couple things. Within that conversation of the state of Disneyland, let's observe how much has been going on in the recent past, presently, and in the near future. So much is happening. 8 out of the next, 10 attractions, dining locations, or features of the park have received an update or is scheduled to get an update, or it's actually getting an update right now. Tiki Room is scheduled for an update, a refurb, interiors and exteriors in the next month or two. Jungle Cruise actually just went through kind of a major update. The Tiger scene was updated, and they're getting another one. It's going to be going down for a brief closure in the near future, as is Indiana Jones Adventure. That's going down for a little while to update some of the scenes inside. And as we'll see going forward as we enter New Orleans Square, that's 3 out of 4. The only thing that doesn't get an update there is Tropical Hideaway. Going forward, Haunted Mansion just got one. The Courtyard just got one. Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Keep going into Galaxy's Edge. Rise of Resistance and Smuggler's Run has got an update coming. We're going to talk about those hopefully if I can remember. But that's like 8 attractions and or features like New Orleans Square that have either received an update or are scheduled to get one in the very near future. Disneyland is on a full court press right now to make this park as awesome as possible in the run-up to the 70th anniversary celebration coming up in May. And yes, I am still feeling it as we leave Adventureland and head into New Orleans Square, looking at the Pirates queue right here. Oh my God, it's just so many people right here. And it feels good though. It's not that kind of crowd where you're like, oh, get me out of here. This feels fun. It feels good to be amongst these people. Like I said before, that they feel very happy, very hyped, very excited to be here. Tuesday in February, guys. The Tuesday in February. By the way, I checked. It's not 140. It's not tier 2. It's tier 3. $164 day. This defies all logic and expectations. I would have expected this to be maybe a tier 0 or tier 1 kind of crowd, but my goodness, this is something. Let's check out. Look at Pirates. I was scouting the scene a little bit, and I got some B-roll, and the wait time read 45 minutes, which I thought, my goodness. Now it reads 50 minutes, and it does. The queue is just incredible. So is the walkway out here through New Orleans Square. Hopefully this B-roll is helping capture that image, but it goes all the way down to Tiana's Palace and comes back around, and it makes you wonder, how do you decide? How do you choose? Which is, what queue do I get in? So we have not seen any sort of discounts, any breaks so far at all. Luckily, I can help with that. What's up? 45 minutes, 50? No big deal. That's the win still. It looks bad. It doesn't look good. 40 minutes for Jungle Cruise doesn't look good, but those are your wins right there. Jungle Cruise and Pirates of the Caribbean right now, so far and throughout this day, those are the queues I would get in spite of the fact that they're longer and look sicker than they normally do. The whole park is going to be like that today. The whole park is going to be above expectation. You got to pick your battles. The battle I'm fighting today is Pirates of the Caribbean and Jungle Cruise so far. Well, it looks like in the moments that we just spent having that conversation, things have cleared up a little bit here in New Orleans Square. They definitely are still running that queue all the way down there to Tiana's Palace, but this lane, this little walkway here was darn near unwalkable just 10 minutes ago. And I'm trying to get over to to Royal Street in Tiana's Palace. I have to go all the way around. Let's see. Oh, I think I've got ourselves a loopable spot here. We haven't really had a chance to talk about how busy things are at a restaurant yet. So, oh look, they've got a little sign out here for they celebrate soulfully the catfish po' boy. That's been on the menu for a little while, but in a muffaletta sandwich, obviously been here forever. But I guess they're just trying to show their support for that event, which is happening now, I think. Okay, into Tiana's Palace at 1 o'clock even. So this is, prime time. They are serving both sides, it looks like. This looks kind of scary, and it is not. This is actually still a breeze. This is an easy trip to get your food here. I'm gonna say 10 minutes from back of the queue to paying, if that. Depends on how complicated your order is. I will say, the most complicated thing here, shockingly, is the muffaletta salad. The muffaletta salad is actually that's the one thing that you might have to wait a little while because they make it fresh from scratch every single time. And I have ordered that before where I've had to stand by and when you go to McDonald's and you got a complicated order, like pull over to the spot 2 and we'll bring the food out to you. It's that kind of situation with the muffaletta salad. So that's the scene at Tiana's. How about, oh boy, this is gonna be scary. I am worried about the mansion. Busy day, still, it's still experiencing its high demand time. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a posted wait time of 70 minutes for Haunted Mansion. And it doesn't even look that bad as a guest walking through it. And again, this is why you have to pay more attention to not just the posted wait time, but also, what you're seeing in the queue. Use your visual identifiers. Don't just say, okay, that doesn't look like 70. It probably isn't. Verify if you can. Walk around. So one of the things we're going to observe is how full this section is. That's very light right there. That's a good sign if you're looking to measure the queue. You're not seeing anybody in that back section back there. They are kind of posted right here. Standby is actually not bad looking. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and walk back here. It looks like they're sending them all the way around the back of the queue is somewhere in here. Also leave that space, come around through what used to be Magnolia Park and check and see if this rear section back here is being occupied, and it is, but only one queue, one lane, one switchback. The rest of it is empty. That's also a very good sign. And then lastly, if you can get in here, you're great. If not, just try to see the best you can, maybe from the side, but check and see how impacted Lightning Lane is. How difficult are they getting guests through? See how far back that Lightning Lane queue is stretching. This one, it's not bad here, but over here on the left, after they've scanned in, the queue is backed up a little bit. Not great, but not the worst thing I've ever seen either. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it means it's probably not 70 minutes. It's probably not. It's still bad. It's still busy, and you're going to wait probably 45, 50 minutes, I'm guessing. But it's a discount from that 70. I would have agreed with 70 if I had either seen Lightning Lane coming out here to the actual threshold or guests filling. Oh, look at, okay, here you go. they have already updated the board to show 50. So if I had seen all that impacted back there, then perhaps that would have been 70. Or again, if Lightning Lane had been coming out all the way to the threshold here. Looks like things are starting to pick up. By the way, that's 2 more attractions. Haunted Mansion just got a major refurb, both in the queue and a new bride inside. Magnolia Park, we forgot to mention it, we were here before, just got a major update as well. For the better, also. They even built a new gift shop, Madame Leota's Somewhere Beyond. Now, it kind of sucks, and it's already under a refurb. It hasn't even been open but a couple months, it's already getting an update. Kind of sucks, but hey, they took a swing, they did something. They also did something to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, or Splash Mountain, I should say. They've done something to Splash Mountain. And again, some people might say, well, it kind of sucks, which I disagree with. I really enjoy Tiana's. I find this to be quite an upgrade, especially the scene we're looking at right here. This is lovely. But I get it, some people aren't crazy about it. But again, they took a swing. They took a swing. I don't think that there's enough conversation about that, about how difficult it is for something like that to even happen. For them to take a swing and miss. Typically it is the case that Disney is going to, or theme parks in general, there's not a lot, because it costs so much money. It costs so much money, and there's so much permanence to the whole thing that you can't just try, yay, it didn't work out, we'll do something else next time. No, this is it. They're stuck with this now for the next couple decades at least, unless they decide to redo it again. But that's unlikely. That's the risk, that's the trouble with theme parks and building attractions, is that, you know, it's, you can't just take swings. And they did. They're taking swings with smaller things, like I said, like with the gift shop, etc. But it's difficult to take a swing on something like Splash versus Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which, by the way, we are now knee-deep into Bayou country, and it is bonkers here as well. As is often the case, the situation changes just within minutes. I started shooting B-roll, and I found a 60-minute posted wait time at Tiana's, and the queue was looking, you know, kind of brisk. It looked like it was doing okay. They're not using all of it, and there's a little bit of movement in the queue. But then as I got closer to the mix point, well, not really the mix point, but the point where guests enter the main queue, it started to look a little bit more crowded. They're using both extended 1, extended 2 in the back of the queue as well. The backside, so like by the time I came back out to begin shooting this, posted wait time was pushed to 75 minutes. So things have gotten worse while we stand here. There's no rest, there's no break in Winnie the Pooh either. Winnie the Pooh is posted at 35 minutes, although as I look at the queue now, it's busy in there, but that's not a 35-minute queue. If you're looking for a go today, this is one of those situations like we talked about before with, so far our goes are what? Pirates of the Caribbean and Jungle Cruise, Winnie the Pooh, obviously. I don't know if I would say go for Tiana's. That looks like a no-go for me. This is a very sticky, brutal-looking queue at the moment, and I feel like at any minute it could go bad for you. I will say though, checked Theme Park IQ, and there's no breakdowns today, which is good. And I haven't really heard or seen reports of, you know, continual breakdowns. So I feel like they might have been, at least they're getting close to figuring things out in that regard. I don't feel like the attraction is experiencing the same level of difficulties as they were in the past. I don't know what the current status is of Tiana though in that final scene. I haven't been on since then. I've been trying to, you know, make more visits, you know, to check in on these things, but it's been a minute since I've been able to check in on Tiana. Though again, I haven't heard anything. Maybe you guys could tell me, how's Tiana doing? Is she okay? I will say though, single rider, I mean, this could become like a Radiator Springs type thing, although it's not quite as efficient as Radiator Springs Racers is. It is pretty good. I'll still take that. I'll take single rider on Tiana's any day over standing in this right here. Well, I was hoping to catch a moment of peace here on the path to Galaxy's Edge, but it's bonkers here. But look, at least we do have Mark Twain on our right. And you know what? Now is a good opportunity. That's another one of those chances to get away from the crowds, get away from the intensity. It's always a go for me, no matter how busy it looks in the park. We didn't open the show with a look at the reservation calendar. We're going to get aboard that Mark Twain right now and do just that. Let's see how things look today and into the next couple of months or two. Man, even the Mark Twain is feeling it today. It's the most crowded I think I've ever seen the Mark Twain, although the Texas deck, the top deck, is not loading. Let's, though, take a look at that reservation calendar real quick, starting with the, obviously, single-day tickets, which is wide open. We're at, as I mentioned before, Tier 3, $164 today, and it's wide open. It looks like, yeah, the reservation calendar is typically the case for single-day tickets, wide open for February. Let's see, March as well. nothing to report. They're not even into the May period, which is going to be a tricky coming up, which we'll talk about a little bit with Magic Keys. As a matter of fact, let's get into that. We're going to look at the Inspire Key first. You cannot get a reservation today. It's sold out today for Magic Keys. Not surprisingly, it's packed. Although you could get in yesterday. You couldn't get in. Yesterday was the actual holiday. They were booked out the night before, but I found availability midday, which was interesting. But as for the rest of February, it's actually not the worst thing I've ever seen. You've got the sold out or near sold out Sunday, and also the 25th, 27th are near sold out. Usually when you see just a single park available, that means they're on the brink, they're on the edge, and look for those to go booked out in the near future. And then the 28th, obviously, that Friday, that's what you expect, is weekends and Fridays to be the ones that go. Into March, Saturday's available. That's kind of wild. I was not expecting that. And then, really it's just the Saturdays that are booked and that one Sunday that has a Disneyland start. Curious, I wonder what the circumstances are for Disneyland or for DCA to have a DCA start booked out and not Disneyland. I find that humorous. I find that difficult to believe. And hopefully, are you guys jamming with the Straw Hatters are playing upstairs while we record this. So yeah, that's April. Now let's get into, that's February and March. I want to look at May now, because one date that you want to keep your eye on is May 16th. That date has just recently become available, and that's the first day of the 70th anniversary here in the parks. The big party that's going to last for a year starts on May 16th, and already the Disneyland starts have sold out. It's right now a DCA start only. Although I would say they're going to probably replenish those Disneyland starts. Things are going to happen. Keep an eye on that though. Look for those to sell out quickly. So if you haven't already booked yours, you might want to think about doing that, and then sort of watch and observe to see if you can squeeze that DCA start into see if you can't convert that into a Disneyland start. Otherwise, the calendar actually does not look as scary as it has in the recent past. Our last update 2 weeks ago was kind of a disaster. It was one of the scariest calendars I'd seen for February. It was pretty bleak, but things appear to be opening up. I don't know if I've talked about this yet or will in the near future on this video, so I'll say it now. Magic Keys are still on sale, although there are some that have sold out by now. We're looking at the list now, and I'm seeing Inspire Key is available for renewal only. Believe is available for purchase. Imagine is available for purchase. Oh, and Enchant. So Enchant, so really it's the only key that's sold out at this point is Inspire, which is the opposite of the past. It was the lower keys that were selling out first, and the Inspire Key was the last key to sell out. For some reason, in this go around, Inspire Keys are the first to sell out, and that's the one that I think Disney wants you to buy. I thought, at least. That's what the old, observation suggested to me, that the one that they keep selling is the one they want you to buy. Curious why that is, unless people have just opted in. Although I would say that price point, they don't show it here. I think it's $1,700 now for the Inspire Key. $1,700. You really got to be, really got to be committed. You want to buy that key. Let's check out the rest of Mark Twain as we make our way around the rivers of America. Back in the parks we go. To Galaxy's Edge. I was gonna let the music bring us in a little bit, but I mean, the visuals are gonna do all the talking right now, because we are 100% into section 4 here. This is disastrous. Like 4, 5? I mean, wow, that's bonus queue right there. Guys, Rise of the Resistance is running at full and complete capacity right now. And that's saying something. That's saying something because it has been a while since we've seen guests in section 4. It has been quite a while since we've seen that. Most times we come through here, we're like, yeah, I can do that. That's not so bad. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, you know, just about every visit. I ain't getting in that queue. I am not getting in that queue. I say in our the hacking Rise of the Resistance video, if you see guests there, just go ahead and come back some other time. You can beat that. You can come back and find a better situation. That's not it. But man, that's a Tuesday in February, guys. A Tuesday in February. By the way, Rise also update. They fixed the cannons. That's something to well, I almost said celebrate. I don't want to get into that again. I don't mind celebrating. I'm celebrating that happened, right? I'm very happy for that. But as I mentioned in our last State of Disneyland Report 2 weeks ago, some people aren't, you know, they're not impressed. I'm impressed. Here's what I'm not getting though. Look at that post. That says 80. Now that seems like a lot, but I mean, I've seen it post 80 in conditions much more inviting looking than this. That looks absolutely terrible. Individual Lightning Lane is not, there's no action here. It's selling for $28, you guys. 28 bucks per person. Can we talk about that for a minute? 28 bucks per person just to ride Rise of the Resistance. Now, I will say, you're gonna save probably an hour if you get that. You're probably gonna save an hour, but that's 28 bucks per person, party of 4, $100. In most cases, I would say that's not a go for me. There's ways to get around waiting 80 minutes at Rise of the Resistance, but $28. Did I say? No, it's not even. It's like almost $115 for a party of 4. And just to give you a little bit of reference, that $28 is just slightly less than you would pay for Lightning Lane for the rest of the park. For the entirety of the rest of the park. And those are going for $36 today. Which, by the way, I should note is significantly higher than it was not long ago. I remember a time when it was $18, $20 for Lightning Lane multi-pass, as they're calling it now. $36 today, and that's on a tier 3 day. That ain't ever gonna change. They are never getting rid of that. Indeed, we have arrived at docking bay 7 to check out the tip board. Now it's, as we've been seeing, it's appropriately busy here. There wasn't enough seating out there, so I thought, you know what, let's go shoot that inside docking bay 7 today. So that's where we find ourselves. And hopefully, you know, my microphone works well enough that I can speak in a low register to not annoy anybody, while also you being able to hear me. Let's get started. Alice in Wonderland, 35 minutes. Now, that's a lot, but I have a feeling it's closer to an actual 35 minutes than we might normally find. Astro Orbiter 30, again, I've seen wait times like that before, and it's not, but I don't know, it could be worse. Autopia, 40 minutes, solid. Return time in 1 hour and 20 minutes, which means that people are buying Lightning Lane today. We are seeing some action there. Normally that's a now. Big Thunder. 40 minutes. That doesn't seem high enough. Are things winding down? Is that what it is? Because it's now, 2:22 as we look at this. It's possible that the day could be winding down. We'll find out. Big Thunder 40 minutes with return time in 3 hours. That's actually not bad, considering what we've been seeing in the rest of the park getting to this point. Buzz Lightyear 30 minutes, again, that's not bad, considering. Return time an hour, a little over. Casey Jr. 35, one train. They're running one train right now. I think they have been for the past couple of weeks. I'm going to go ahead and assume that's still the case. Gadgets. My gosh, 55 minutes. Woo. That's the longest queue so far that we've seen, right? Gadgets is 55 minutes. Impressive. Dumbo 30. Nemo 35, no big deal. Haunted Mansion 50. Okay, Gadgets is longer than Haunted Mansion. We left that at 50. We saw it as high as 70. Return time is just 3 hours. So the demand is starting to wear down, just to thin down, I should say, a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit at Haunted Mansion. Indiana Jones, a pleasant 55 minutes. But a return time, shockingly, I don't know how many times I have to make this observation. I just cannot believe people are that urgent about Lightning Lane for Indiana Jones. It's just incredible. I mean, today's the day, I guess, if you're going to do it, because that outer queue that we saw, that's a queue that Lightning Lane does get a victory over. But normally you can win without it. Jungle Cruise 45, solid. Tea Party 20 minutes. That's probably 2 rotations. Winnie the Pooh down to 15. We already saw it was 35 when we were there earlier. But I saw that the queue was starting to thin down a little bit, so that's winding down. Matterhorn 75. That's strong. I just cannot believe Matterhorn is 100 years old and they're still managing to get wait time in 75 minutes. I smile because that makes me happy. I'm proud of you, Matterhorn. Return time in just under 4 hours. Runaway Railway, a very modest 45 minutes. That has as much to do with the fact that it's an impressive queue in terms of cycling guests. We'll take a peek at that queue later today. Let's see, Please don't make me go check that queue again, Disney. Please don't. I've been spending way more time at the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run on actually going on. I'm not particularly crazy about Smuggler's Run. I mean, it's fun. I love Star Wars, and it's a joy. But it's just the same. I don't know, man. I don't know why it is. Why is it that we like? Oh God, it's the same ride over and over. We don't say that about the Matterhorn or Pirates. We never say that, but for some reason it's true. For reasons that I cannot exactly explain, it's true that Smuggler's Run is more monotonous because it doesn't change. Then that's a whole video maybe just talking about what does that mean, the psychology of that. Anyway, 25 minutes. I'm not going to go in that queue. I'll go walk in there, but I'm not getting it. I'm not going to ride again. Toads 25, excellent. Peter Pan 45, standard. Pinocchio 30, that's a little long. I doubt it's 30, probably not. Pirates of the Caribbean 45, that's good. It's starting to wind down a little bit. 3 hour return time though for Pirates. People like using Lightning Lane for Pirates. I don't think it's going to happen, you guys. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to come off. Roger Rabbit's 45, good. Return time in just 2 hours. That's not too bad. If you were thinking about using Lightning Lane today, it's a gettable day. Hold that thought. Snow White's 25. Space Mountain, just over an hour, but a return time at 2:55? I'm sorry, how is that even remotely possible? There's something up there. I'm gonna check, when we're done here, I'm gonna check the breakdown and see if that's real or not. I can't believe it. Anyway, I can't remember what the point I was trying to make now. What was I gonna say? I was on Roger Rabbit's and 2 hours, and I can't remember. That just shook me. Okay, Star Tours. Maybe it'll come back to me later. Star Tours 40 minutes. Not bad. Oh, I almost had it. Oh, Lightning. This is a gettable day, Lightning Lane wise. You can use the refresh technique today. You can stack a little bit today. There's still time to do all these rides today. It is sometimes the case on a really busy day that the return times are so outrageous that you won't even be able to get to all of them. You'll run out of daylight. But I think I think this is gettable with Lightning Lane today. Wow. Okay. I remember I was saying how 80 minutes seemed unrealistic for rides. Look at that, 105 now. That is an hour and 45 minutes with a oh my God. A return time of an hour and a half for the paid Lightning Lane. You never see that. Ever. Never, ever. It's always now, 10, 15 maybe. Never more than half an hour for sure, and never, ever, ever an hour and a half. Holy Nikes. Tiana 75, return time of 8:30. That's 6 hours. There you go. Take care. Man, I told you that wasn't no 20 minutes. They got it to 50 now. I mean, it might have been 20 minutes once, but it doesn't take long for people to say, hey, look, 20 minutes, and then jump in the queue. So, welcome in, flight crew. Thank you, thank you. But as is our custom, we will spot the back of that queue. 50 minutes. It went from 20 to 50 in probably 5 minutes, I'd say, 5 minutes. Which, by the way, is not a gradual thing. It didn't go 20, 30, 40, then 50. They went from 20 to 50. That's because they, I don't know, sometimes they're just too slow. And that's why people kind of have that idea that Disney's, intentionally flexing these wait times in order to generate some kind of response from their guests to buy a lightning lane perhaps, or to stay away, or to come to an attraction. I don't feel like they're doing it with intent. It's just too manual. It's too analog, the way that they track. Oh my God. Yeah, okay, look. This is a first. I don't know about first, but it's something. Right here. Back of the queue. Boom. I laughed when we saw the back of the queue up there a little bit a couple weeks ago. You guys can go anytime. This is the back of the queue I've seen since ever. I'm trying to think back when Galaxy's Edge first opened, and did we even ride? Because I rode during the media preview, and there was nobody in the queue. I got to walk all the way through. I'm trying to remember if we rode that first day, and if we did, was it anything like that? I don't think so. Although I can say that I'm completely wrong about that. I remember now waiting in that queue outside the wall where we were just where those ladies are right there. I've waited in that queue. I remember a time when I've waited out here in this space. I remember a time when I've waited behind. They opened up those doors backstage, and there was a queue back there behind the walls even. I've waited in all those queues. Oh my God, I'm ridiculous. I can't believe I did that for Smuggler's Run. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine today and ever getting to that point? I cannot. You guys hear that? Ogus is bumping right now. Somebody asked, how come I don't ever film in there? It's just too awkward for me. Can't do it. I'm gonna share a table with 4 strangers and try to film myself drinking drinks. I don't know, man. Not exactly in my wheelhouse. Though I will say, I'm certainly more expressive and daring than I was 10 years ago, but it took me 10 years to get to where I am today. Imagine that this is still a shy, awkward person 10 years later, just to get to this point. I don't know how I ever get to the point of, let's say, well, I don't know, a more gregarious Miguel and Janelle, for example. Miguel is very outgoing, etc.
It doesn't matter why they came to Batuu. They're not going to leave. Sir, affirmative. Here we go.
Oh no, he's coming.
The resistance.
Is he going forward? Okay, there we go. Good. Not me. See, I can't do it.
Even more pathetic is that they believe it. It appears you've misplaced your loyalty. Find it. Understood. No. It's time for you to go.
Genuinely don't have the first clue of what to say in those situations, other than I do have at least a modicum of restraint to not be a smartass at that point, because that is often what guests do. They try to be hard, or try to be smartass, and like, nah, I can't. At least I don't do that. Still no music here. Transitioning to Big Thunder Trail. This is that 4 weeks or 2 that's been the case? It's been at least 2.
I didn't even drop it here.
I hear Big Thunder ride announcements. Big Thunder broke down. You can hear it. Next, we're going to go to a place that is always my safe place, my happy place. when on a busy day, it's the one place you can go where you can feel reasonably confident that you're not going to have to wait forever, that you're not going to be stuck in a queue. There's no lightning lane here except for way over in Small World when that's open, or Matterhorn, but everything else is standby only, that's what you're looking for on days like this as much as possible, is standby only, no lightning lane. Pinocchio right there. Now that looks a little bit dense, a little bit busy, but it's certainly not a 30-minute queue, which is what we just saw on the tip board. That's gonna, even though it looks, wow, they've really got it out here. You don't normally see this many switchbacks right in the front like that, but that's still probably just 20 minutes. Snow White posted at 20. Not too bad. That's about right, actually, I would say. At this point, yeah, 20 minutes is looking good for Snow White. Peter Pan, you always know what to expect here, don't you? It's going to be busy, but it's actually pretty standard. Again, there is a limit to what people will tolerate here at Peter Pan, as is the case for most of the Fantasyland attractions. You got two switchbacks open there, but there's a limit. I refer to those situations as being self-regulating. Most queues, most attractions, but especially attractions here in Fantasyland, are self-regulating, meaning there's a maximum that no matter how busy the park is or whatever, it doesn't matter. They're not gonna wait any more than X minutes for Peter Pan or Toads or whatever. You never see those standby queues get ridiculous, get out into situations and places that they never exist or where they don't belong. And a lot of that has to do with simply space. Take Peter Pan, for example. Even on the most bonkerous, craziest, max capacity day, you're not gonna see this queue get beyond where these ropes are. You're not gonna see this queue get out to the castle, for example. You're not gonna see this queue escape literally this boundary right here. It might maybe for a minute creep out into this unknown country out here in this space, but you're never gonna see it get out into here. And that's not anything that Disney's doing. They're not preventing that per se. It's just nature. Nature has a way, the environment here in Fantasyland has a way of saying, we're not gonna go past that, because that's a disaster. Crowd-wise, like getting people around, it's a disaster. If that were to happen, that's very bad. It would cause such a traffic jam. So somehow, nature has a way of saying we're not going to let that happen. I know it's kind of a metaphor that we're doing here, but it really is the case. And it's like that anywhere where you have a constricted space like this. Dumbo, Toads, Casey Jr., there's just a limit. 30 minutes for Toads as he approaches. This is pretty much the extent of it right here.
There you are.
Hey, how are you? I think maybe one time in my life have I seen the queue for Toads get out here. Like maybe once, ever. But otherwise, that's the limit. Those little ropes they create here, that's the limit. Dumbo, the limit. This is the threshold right there. You're never gonna see it come out here into this walkway. Now you would in the past, pre-update. I don't know if you guys remember, but they updated the queue. They extended the proper queue here at Dumbo, I'm gonna say maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Before that, you might have seen the Dumbo queue come out here into this walkway before that. And I think it would be a safe guess to say that's why they grew the Dumbo queue, so that they could eliminate that, because that also, having guests go out there towards Storybook Land, that's a disaster. As for the queue today, this is about where I would have expected to find it. They are filling out this extended area. This is the part of the queue that they built out here. This is all, well, I would say brand new, but it's new to Dumbo. Dumbo used to extend just to the Oregon back here, and we are getting what looks to be about a 30-minute queue there for Casey Jr. as well. I do not see a second train on the track. I think I've seen, there he goes right now. If there was a train there, I don't know if you guys can see that over the hedge. If that's the case, there should be a train here if there were two, so there's not. We're still running just one train. Tragic, that is. It's so tragic. When we lose that second Casey Jr. train, it hits me. I mean, it hits me, because that's one of my go-to attractions. That's one of my attractions that, if I'm not sure what I want to do, if I don't have a lot of time, if I just want to get a little bit of Fantasyland into my skin, Mr. Toad's Casey Jr. And I have to say, Mad Tea Party is becoming one of those. It is, because even though it's a spinner, I just feel like it's one of the purest Disneyland things you can do. I'm kind of walking by here. I'm not sure what I'm looking at, if it's queue or just guests standing by, because there's a cavalcade going by right now, which I have to shut up because I'll probably get copyrighted. So I'll turn around and go the other direction. Guys, don't ever sleep on Mad Tea Party. Hi! Don't ever sleep on it. Don't ever think, there's never a situation where Mad Tea Party should be a no for you. Always go. Man, I gotta say, hey, I thought there might be sort of winding down, but it's still plenty busy. It may be winding down, but it's not winding down a lot. That's a pretty active queue right there for Alice in Wonderland. Looking at 40 minutes on the board. No, it won't even be that, not even, maybe half that. Maybe 25 minutes on the upside. Man, this day is really hitting me. I cannot believe how alive this park feels today. And again, very much in a positive way. At no point have I felt like this is too much, as I was saying at the beginning of the show. It's busy, it's kind of crazy, but not in a way that you like, at least for me personally. I know that some might disagree with that, but I think this is great. But you know what, let me take this opportunity now, while we're having this conversation, to invite you, if you are picking up what we're putting down here and you want to plan a trip to Disneyland, or to any Disney park for that matter, I would encourage you to use our travel affiliate. They are sponsors of this show, friends of the show, GetAwayToday. There's a link in the description. Use that link if you want to book a plan or book a trip to Disneyland, Walt Disney World, take a cruise, you name it, Alani, whatever. They are the best in the business. We love GetAwayToday. Nobody does it better than they do. Kindest, smartest, best at their jobs. They love Fresh Baked. We love them. Hope you guys have a great trip. Use GetAwayToday. Link below. Wow, welcome to Toontown. My goodness. Guess we're gonna check Roger Rabbit's. Posted to 45, hi. 45, no lightning lane, looking good. I can't believe it's actually 45 minutes. I almost find that, okay, we hadn't get very far. I was just gonna say, what does a 45-minute queue look like at Roger Rabbit's? That is not it. No chance whatsoever. Is that a 45-minute queue, even with no lightning lane? It's getting sunny out. I'm gonna go ahead and put a 5 on them updating that sign before we leave Toontown right now. Unless the back of the queue changes. I see these queues. I just keep walking around. I see these random queues. Like, what is that for? Oh, it's for Clarabelle. There's another queue over here for Pluto. There's a queue 20, 30 deep to meet Pluto down there. My God, I love Toontown. I really do. Okay, Runaway Railway is next. I think I already see the back of the queue. It's posted at 55 minutes, which is probably high. I marked the door here at, usually this measures out to me to about 45 minutes. Just to the door, from the door into your vehicle is probably 45. So while it's not that, it's not far off still. That's a bodacious queue right there. I will say, as much as I love Toontown, as much as I love all the positive energy, this is the first time today where I've got sort of an OMG feeling. Normally, I don't mind the crowds. I like the crowds. But here it gets a little bit, because it's narrower here. These streets narrow quite a bit. The way that they updated things, they took out a lot of a fair amount of the walking space in here. So you never really get a break from the intensity of the crowd. So if there's ever an opportunity for me to feel that way, here in Toontown is one of them. Oh my gosh. We're at Minnie's house. Same queue as ever. Although I can't tell what does that board say 60 minutes? It does. That says 60 minutes, which we walk by, it's the same queue we see all the time, but it's never said 60. It's usually 30 or 40. They're calling that 60, and I don't know why. That is curious. And she's in her usual spot, it looks like, just inside the door in her living room. I will say that that's more likely. I do feel like 60 is more accurate. I always felt like the 30 or 40 minutes that they have posted is too low. That says 45 minutes for Mickey's house, and you know what? For fun, let's go see if we can find the back of the queue here. No way. No? I mean, it's crowded, but it's at the queue. I don't think we've seen the queue yet. Okay, there we go. I have seen the queue back this far before. I will say that. I have seen the queue where I'm standing, and it looks like we're getting warmer. Remember the last time through here we got all the way to the theater? There it is. This is the back, I think. Yeah, we found it. Back the queue is not yet to the garden. For those wondering if you're interested in meeting Mickey, that's a no-go for me. Unless you're absolutely, it's high priority. I would say that's you're probably looking at a solid 45 minutes just to get to Mickey. It doesn't. I've waited in that queue before, and it moves really slow. It's kind of a grind because there's long intervals in between them moving guests because they batch them into like groups of 10 or 15, and then they don't move at all for a little while. So it can be a bit arduous. I will say that. Standard queue for a busy day at Gadget's Coaster. It was 55 on the tip board, 45 now, according to the sign. And that's about right as we're looking at that. That's a 45-minute queue. We've seen it out here in this little space right there. That would be more like an hour right here. Toontown is a lot right now. This one goes out to you parents out there who are trying to brave Toontown today. Trying to get your kids on those attractions. It reminds me of the conversation we had at Camp Snoopy for the Knott's Berry Farm video where, my God, if you think this is bad, you guys should go see Camp Snoopy on a busy day. I don't know how anybody gets their kids through that space without losing their minds. Everything takes forever. There's so many attractions, and they're all busy, and it's overkill almost. At least Toontown just has the 3. Right? And then the playground area. I mean, you play your cards right, you can get your kid out of there. You don't have to spend the whole day. You could spend the entire day trying to get your kids through all those attractions at Camp Snoopy. And as I exit Toontown out into Fantasyland Beam, I find myself missing Small World greatly. I so miss Small World. And I don't even mean just as a piece of history or as a place to be or see. Here, I mean, I literally want to get on a boat and ride that attraction right now. I miss that so much. Alas, we cannot. Alas, we have to take this show. Look at absolute perfection. We're at the Matterhorn, where it's a posted wait time of 50 minutes, which is nominal. That's actually kind of agreeable, considering what we're finding on balance the rest of the day. The queue is peeking out through the threshold a little bit. You don't want to see that. That means that they're not quite ready for whatever rush has just happened. They may need to do a little queue maintenance if it's possible. I don't know. We'll go take a look and see where the chains are. But those guests are in for something of a horror story, I'm afraid. That 50 minutes, while it looks, I said it's not so bad, it's going to get worse real soon. Lightning Lane is incredibly bonkers right now. There's a queue out the threshold for Lightning Lane. That's intense. Single rider is no discount right now. That queue is around the corner. That cast member right there, he's the back of the queue for single rider. And if you've never been, then you don't know. You're looking at 30 minutes at least there for single rider. Meanwhile, look at the queue here. It's growing. The back of the queue is growing out into the main walkway. All that because they're going nowhere because Lightning Lane is going to get all the attention right now. Meanwhile, we have found the back of the queue out here. It is Extended 1, Extended 2, and all the way to Extended 3. There's not a lot more maintenance they can do here to grow that queue, to take the pressure off the queue that's building, other than to go into new territory. This is territory that they don't often get into. It's a terrible, terrible sign of how things are going on a day. If you see these ropes up, the chains define the usual queue. When you see ropes instead of chains, that means they are flexing into space that is not supposed to have queue space, and they're going to. They're already ready to go into Extended 4 here, which, as I mentioned, you hardly ever see this. Just a question of time. Just a question of time before I see a cast member out here flexing guests out into that space. I'm making my way back to the front because I want to see, when we were walking by, I saw that the back of that queue growing out there into wild space, as it were, where there shouldn't, guests are just, they're just wild. They're not in a queue. They're out loose in the streets mixing in with with the guests walking by, which is just scary. You never want to see that. If you see guests in wild space like that, where they're not within a normal queue, you got to try another time. I know it's busy. I know it's really crazy, and sometimes you just want to get in a queue and start doing something. But there are better opportunities. Maybe not remarkably better, but still, man, those guests are going to be parked. So there it is, we found it. That's the back of the queue right now, which is almost all the way to Treeland. My God, it's at Treeland, but out in wild space. And you can just take a look at what you see out there. And do you see a lot of guests moving? Do you see people flowing through the queue at more than 1 or 2 body lengths pace? Like, there's not a lot of, I found a section right there. They kind of moved about 10 feet, a little bit. But otherwise, this is very sticky looking right there. That is just going nowhere. The queue's actually growing. It's gotten longer in the moments, we've been rolling for 32 seconds. The queue has now gotten a little longer. It's almost all the way to lamp of tree lamp definition. I mean, how long can I stand here and see where this goes? Okay, I stood by for about 3 minutes. The back of the queue has grown a little bit, but not a lot. It's now past tree lamp there. It's starting to come out in this space. But you might see a lot of movement up there. Do you see all that happening? They're about to absorb some of this queue. And I'm not gonna lie, even having as much experience as I have in the park, knowing exactly what's happening, knowing as much as I do, I'm not gonna lie, it still feels good to see, when you're in the queue yourself and you're like, oh, we're moving, thank goodness. You're like, okay, finally the queue's getting going. No, unfortunately, no, that's not the reason. The reason is that in those 3 minutes, they did, in fact, flex a whole section of guests into section 4, which creates a false, advancement of guests because they're moving, but they're just moving into space that was previously unoccupied. So you're not getting, there's no victory there. This is just getting worse and worse and worse. And the sickest thing about all of that is that they did that happened, and those guests are still back at Treeland. The back of that queue in wild space is still back at Treeland. My goodness. That might be the wildest thing we've seen today. And we walk by this section all the time, right? Every 2 weeks we walk by this section, we're like, okay, find an emo. At least they're not out here, right? It's bad when it's out here. It's bad, it's out here. It's happening. The guests are filling every available space, even at Find an Emo. It was at 35 minutes though, on the tipper, which I thought was kind of light. There's no chance in Poseidon's bottomless sea that this is a 35, I don't even know what I'm saying, that this is a 35-minute queue. I'm trying to make hey, how are you? I don't know, a simile, metaphor, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm not good at that stuff, but yeah, it's posted at 50 now. My gosh, 50 minutes, that's probably a 50-minute queue, yeah. Good job, guys. Queue's managed, board is accurate, well done. And it's funny how rapid the pace is picked up because I can't really do anything. I can't really get posted anywhere. Everything is just inaccessible. It's hard. I was standing out there at the Matterhorn trying to watch the queue and I couldn't because I was in literally every single person's way. So we might just stay out here for this part. Autopia is posted at 45 minutes. I could get in there, but 45 minutes. I mean, the queue actually, 45 minutes is a lot, you guys. 45 minutes is a heck of a long time for Autopia, but the queue isn't really showing that. I'm just seeing a little bit of them on the risers. I think they may have just recently flexed into the risers, or the risers were full and they have been able to process some of those guests because I only see about half of it being used right now. Maybe not even that, maybe a third of it. They are in the rotunda, so figure 7 or 8 minutes for that, and then, I don't know, you're looking at maybe 10 out there, so 18, 20 minutes possibly, and then another 10 or 15 out here, so you're looking at a decent 35-minute queue. It's not 45 though, I will say that. But in spite of all that, I still think that this is a gettable day. It's not optimal, it's not dead. You're gonna have to work at it a little bit, but it's not the kind of day that makes me want to go home. Not in the least. Especially when you get to spend part of that afternoon in Tomorrowland. That amazing music. Love it here. know, man. Maybe I don't want a new Tomorrowland. Maybe I like this Tomorrowland. Maybe this is the Tomorrowland for me. Maybe. I kind of love it. You know what? There's a very real chance. Let's say we do get Tomorrowland 3.0 or whatever number we're on, and it's this new, amazing looking place, and then people are gonna be like, oh, I miss old Tomorrowland. Because that's already what's happening. It's happening today with Adventures Through Inner Space. By all accounts, it's a bad attraction. It was kind of meh, dark, very little story. You couldn't really see anything. There was nothing to actually enjoy except for the mighty microscope. When people think back on that fondly, I promise you, that is what's going to happen. And I think that's what keeps Disney from pulling the trigger. As we talked about at the beginning about you taking a swing, pulling the trigger, whatever. When we're in Bayou country, I think that's one of the things that keeps them, because I don't know, man. I'm kind of, we're now in a retro. We're in a retro age for Tomorrowland. I kind of like it. Let's get back to work. Look at that nasty queue right there. Posted 75 minutes. And that's the worst thing that's the last thing you want to see. Coming up to the platform, you make the decision to get in the queue. You say 75 minutes, to heck with you. I'm not bothered. And then you just know, if you see this out here, wall-to-wall guests inside that building. I can't even get in there. I don't want to get in the queue to walk through the stores to be able to peek at that queue. We just know it's going to be full. There is a literal switchback out here in the upper level at Tomorrowland or at Space Mountain. That is nasty. What about single rider, you say? Possible option, but look at this. There's 3 switchbacks going on right now at single rider. That is probably 50 guests in that queue right there, and that's not even all of it. Once those guests get their pass to advance to the next stage, there's multiple stages. You got to pass through this little section here. You go up the ways a little bit, make a left down the hall, and there's another queue waiting for you there. Another 15 guests or so, 20 guests. One of these days soon, I'm going to find a queue like that, an impacted single rider queue like that, and get in it and do a test. I think I might do that on Instagram. Put the test up there and see how that goes, or maybe we'll put it. Oh, we could do newsletter on that also. You should be following us on our newsletter. There's a link for that below, and obviously on Instagram at _freshbaked. Wow. I'm kind of nervous for Buzz Lightyear right now. Star Tours I'm not worried about, but I am kind of nervous for Buzz Lightyear. Let's see. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, there's a queue for Lightning Lane. Do you see that? That far queue in there, that's Lightning Lane. Oh boy. Standby's out here in the wild. This is standby on the outside. They got to loop around the chain and come back in. Lightning Lane is just beefy back that direction. Oh boy, it was posted at 40 minutes. I can't shoot that board anyway because it's tough to get the frame rate right for those. But trust me, it said 40 minutes. They're out here in this extended section outside of Pixie Hollow. This isn't often used out here. Oh boy. And of course, yes, they are also running back that direction into Pixie Hollow all the way. Lots of little forks in the road here, little sections that, that they can use or not use, and that's part of the analysis. But there's no empty space here. They are occupying every part of the queue, which means this queue that we're finding in the back right there, the standby, this is beyond expectations in every way possible. They could not or did not account for this many guests in their planning. Not even, emergency. There's no place to put a rope out here like we saw at Matterhorn. There's no extra space. There's nothing they can do. There's nowhere else to put these guests. And that's where the self-regulating thing would come back into play again, like we talked about at Fantasyland. It happens here, well, it happens anywhere where there's a limited amount of space. There's going to be a limit. Guests are going to see a queue out here in the wild like that, and they're just going to say, that's not for me. That's not for me. I don't care how busy it is out here. I'm not getting in that queue. But they just might. I turned around, and the queue grew 10 or 15 guests while I was talking, and it's now, sit here, it's at the back of the trash can. I wonder, again, just like we saw at Matterhorn, if I were to sit here and watch, does it grow? Because this is kind of the spot. This is the no man's land right here. That's the kind of spot where I feel like they just won't get into. I see it out here sometimes, but it's because Disney hasn't flexed the queue yet. They haven't done any sort of chain maintenance. They have used all options. The standby queue out here is 100% full. There's nothing else Disney can do. Unless, and this is just crazy talk, what if they didn't do a 10-to-1 ratio right now with Lightning Lane? What if they mixed it at 4-to-1 or 3-to-1? What if they actually just did it even, just for a minute, to release some of this pressure, and then Lightning Lane can get the rest. It is now past the trash can, and what's wild as I make this observation as we observe that the guests are now encroaching into space that was unplanned for by Disney. In even the most busiest scenarios, they said, we don't have an answer for this. That this is on a Tuesday in February. This is a Tuesday in February. People want to say that Disneyland's over. They're not over. They might have slow days. Maybe slower than Disney was expecting. But anytime, it could happen at any time. It could just happen any day. Well, there you go. A couple minutes later, there's the trash can where the back of the queue was at before, and you can see it's kind of moved up a little bit. One of two things happened. Either guests did find that to be a limit. They had reached its point of no-go for the general consensus, and it's self-regulated. Or Disney cast members did, in fact, tone down the throttle a little bit on the mix point. Maybe they went from 10-to-1 to 5-to-1 or 4-to-1 or something like that. Just a little bit to take the pressure off. 45 minutes, by the way, as we're standing here for Astral Order. It's not. 45 minutes would actually be like the limit right here, right out there at the threshold. That's probably closer to 30, 35. Turning around, Star Tours. I wasn't worried about Star Tours. This is another one that it's highly self-regulating. It's at 50 minutes. Nobody's going to want to get into a Star Tours queue of 50 minutes. So you'll start seeing that's a call to action for people to stay away. That'll impact the back of the queue quickly. It's out here-ish, right? It's in detention back there, but I can't really tell how much of it. It looks like they are using almost all of it. I can see guests moving on the far wall back there, but this won't last. Come back to this one in a little bit, and you'll get yourself a break. Okay, this time I'm recording it. This time I'm walking by and I'm observing a completely empty extended queue out here, which is a clear sign that the attraction is closed. Knowing full well that the last time that happened, it exactly wasn't closed, it was open, and it just came out of a breakdown, and we got on and walked down real quick, and by the time we got out of there, that entire section was full of guests. And are you kidding me? Are we gonna do this again? Guys, we just might. Let's see, it's open. Look at, are we gonna do this again? We are. We're gonna do this again.
This is our standby line.
Wow. He's like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe that this has happened twice in a row. Starting the clock, let's just see. By the way, the sign said 30 minutes. I don't know if the camera picked that up, but it was posted at 30, which clearly it's not going to be. And not gonna lie, I did not plan this. I did not go out and scout it ahead of time. I didn't take a peek. I just said, oh, but you remember that one time it happened? Let's shoot it this time and make sure that it is closed. And I cannot believe it's happening again. Okay, we found the back of the queue. There she is. Still, that's not gonna be bad. That's gonna be 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, there you go. It looks like it's been closed since 2 p.m. or maybe 3 p.m. Closed for about an hour, between 3 and 4 p.m. confirmed with the cast member, by the way, that they were in fact coming out of a closure and that it was 85 minutes. When the ride went down, they were at 85 minutes.
Get this on camera.
Oh, God. There you go, fresh fit. Got a minute? Extend it back just a bit. Watch our recent State of reports from Universal Studios Hollywood and Knott's Berry Farm. They were both a lot of fun. We really got a lot covered there. And thanks for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh Baked.